Alright, today we're going to attempt to make Dominican meatballs, which is in Spanish abanitas. I don't think that's right at all. Abandingas. Part of my lack of Spanish here, but I do know how to make the food, so. And this is, again, the Spanish or Dominican meatballs. Dominican meatballs, first you want to put in an egg, scramble the egg. And one of the most important parts of it is the sofrito, which if you don't know what that is, you're missing out because it's very good, but I'll try to explain what's in it. It consists of onions, green peppers, a whole lot of garlic. Also has two other oregano and cilantro, and I'm probably missing out something, but you just put it and parfait it basically in a blender. Again, if you never had it, you're missing out because it's extremely good, which is why I'm going to add a little more. Also smells up the house very nicely. So you just want to get that mixed up. Then you want to add a third tablespoon of garlic powder. You can just guess at it if you like. More the better in most cases. Also a third teaspoon. You can use a tomato during this process, but I personally wait till a little bit later on that, and which is a tomato bouillon. And onion powder. If you do not have onion powder, which for some reason I couldn't find it, you can also, for every third, I believe it is every third of onion powder, it requires a fourth of a cup of finely diced onion to make up the difference. That's basically the comparison, if you're out of it. By the way, I did wash my hands very well. Oh, and if I do cut my hand, I'm not responsible for any psychological damage it may have caused. This is live, so. It's obviously more than a fourth of a cup, but I'll be using the rest later. And the way this cooks, you're not even gonna see the onions in there. It's gonna cook for so long that you won't even see these onions in there. It's more for just the flavor of the juices. So I'm gonna use a little bit more than a fourth of a cup, but I am making a little bit bigger dish than typical, so wanted to make sure. And another very important dish, or season, if you've never had it before, you're really missing out. Also, adobo by Goya, and it is very good. Also, I use it on pretty much everything, literally. And this, you want to also add a third of a cup. Guess at it if you want, or sorry, don't do a third of a cup. It's not that good. Do a third of a teaspoon. I did a little bit more. Again, I'm making a bigger dish than normal. And that was, again, in replace of the onion powder. So if you have onion powder, I would recommend just to use that. It makes it a little bit easier, but you don't have to dice, even though you will be cutting that onion later on. And then what you want to do is pour it into, I use turkey meat. You can use ground beef if you want, but I've been eating turkey meat for many years now, and I think it's hands down better or tastier than beef, and also it's obviously healthier. Make sure your hands are very clean in this. I'm going to wash them just in case I got anything on them. And I'll mash this you want to mash it just like you would meatloaf, which be probably the closest representation of, or at least what this looks at now. I'll mash it for a minute here just so you can see what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm sure you know how to do this, so I'll take it off camera and finish it up here in a moment. But you do want to thoroughly mash it in, again, just like if you were mashing meatloaf. Very similar concept, just different flavoring. Which, now that I think about it, that would probably make, I guess it'd be like having one big old meatball instead of having a whole bunch of little ones, make it into a meatloaf. Okay, after you mix it up, you then want to, let me wash my hands off. This is a little more meat than I thought, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the sofrito and the extra seasonings. That way I make sure this is for a at work party that we're having tomorrow, or picnic cook-off. So I want to make sure I impress my friends and peers at work. And hopefully during the edit I can actually edit all this waste of time out that you don't actually have to look at now. But basically what I'm doing is just doubling up on everything. All the seasonings, the sofrito, onion powder, garlic powder. I guess it was a good thing I made the rest of that onion, because I can obviously use the onion now. And off camera, which I'll show you in a moment, I just turned on the stove, or yes, the stove. And what we're going to be doing is also putting, just to cover a small amount of the bottom, actually most of the bottom would be better. I like to use olive oil. It is, well, this or even corn oil actually. Corn oil would be good because it is 0% fat, and which you're going to, because there is a lot of deep frying in Dominican food, you want to at least stay as healthy as you can, so every little bit helps. So I just turned on the stove also. Matter of fact, I'll show that. Oh, well, the camera's too far away anyway, but matter of fact, it would make more sense to put it over here. Gets hot very quickly. So I put it on like a medium high. Again, just have barely surface covered. You can even do a little bit more, but the more you do, we're still gonna be flipping around, so it'll be fun. I try to do just as low as I can, just because I don't want to saturate the fat in the saturate. I shouldn't say fat, because it's turkey meat, so it barely has any in it at all. But I don't want to saturate the meat, which would kill the taste, unless you like the taste of cooked olive oil. So while that's heating up, I'm going to start making the meatballs. And I'll do a few here. Actually, it's going to be a lot of people tomorrow, so do them a little smaller. It's probably about 45 of us. And they usually eat up the Dominican food we've made in the past, so I want to make a little smaller ones. And if you've never had these, I know I've said it before, but you're missing out. Dominican food is, in my opinion, definitely the top of flavor. Again, that's in my opinion. But a lot of people I know have never tried it. Alright, so I'm basically just getting enough until and waiting on the popping sound of the oil. And I do the medium high just so it browns outside a little bit, but it's still cooking thoroughly enough on the inside. You don't want to turn it up too high and burn the outside. And then you have a raw center, which unless it's a steak, it's not going to be good in this turkey meat here. Now I will say I am going to lightly undercook these because I'm going to be at the end of this. I'm going to be doing something different because obviously I can't bring a whole stove up to work, but I can bring a slow cooker. So I'm going to cook them probably 3/4 of the way, and then I'm going to put them in the slow cooker tomorrow. Anytime, in my opinion, this is not some type of anything I've ever personally looked up, so I don't know if it's factual or not, but anytime I know I'm going to be cooking food for the next, or eating food the next day and I have to cook it the day prior, I always undercook the food. Because worst case, you got to pop it in that nasty microwave, which cooks it too fast, and you end up turning a medium rare piece of meat into a well done, which you may not like. And that goes for each time you cook it. If you end up eating a big piece of meat, or eating half of a piece of meat, and the next day you want to cook the half of it, you end up putting in there the whole half of it. You end up only eating, it gets it from medium rare to well done, and then you end up not wanting all that, and then you want to cook it the next day, you just overcooked it. Went from well done to burnt, which you don't like that. So I don't. Just something I always, anytime I'm cooking, I try to plan out how much I'm going to eat for that day. I like to grill a lot, so especially grilling. I have a big grill. I don't want to cook just a small amount of meat on the grill, so sometimes I'll cook for the next couple of days. Now what I'm doing, just setting them in here, just using basically a grater or a strainer. That way I don't burn my hands. Probably shouldn't be doing this on my Rachel Ray set. I didn't think that through too much, but this Rachel Ray set's turned into a piece of crap anyway. That's probably for doing this too much on accident. You always want to use, the Teflon, not the metal. But I guess I can't flip them that way. One of these. It was cooking a little too hot. You turned one and it started turning around after only being on there for less than a minute. Or right at that. You go ahead and turn it down just a little bit. I just recently purchased this stove, so I'm not quite used to it yet how quickly it heats up. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and make some more here. And the way I'm doing this, I still feel I think it's good, but I tend to over saute things sometimes, just because I like a lot of flavor. But so that may be putting a little bit too much in there. But the way we're cooking it today on the slow cooker, if it is a light amount, you can put some more sofrito in at that time, and just have it basically marinate and slow cook. Probably actually better anyway. All right. Wash your hands again, just for touching the raw meat. And I'm going to get these all flipped. You can cover these also. It actually would probably be better to cook them. No, we don't have to flip them as many times. Well, especially so you don't have to flip them many times. Alright. It is turkey, even though it is turkey meat, it will still shrivel up a little bit, so even if you make it a little bit bigger, they will get, I mean, I don't know exact science on it, but I would imagine it wouldn't be any more than 10% smaller than what you originally put together, so it's not like hamburger meat. Mess up and get a 80-20 or something, then it turns into be half the size or less. I don't know why they sell 80-20, to be honest with you. Alright, so I'm just making a couple more of these balls here. And again, I am cooking these at about 3/4, maybe even a little bit less than that. We have quite a few tours at work, so the way I'm going to be cooking it, I'll probably put it on an hour before anybody even eats it, unless they start smelling it, and then they're going to realize how great it is, and it's going to be probably gone before the next shift arrives anyway. But my plan is to undercook them just maybe a little bit even less than the 3/4, just because I will be having it on at least on warm for most of probably a good 4 hours, and even warm with turkey meat it's going to cook it just just a little bit for that long of a period anyway. My ADD just kicked in, so now I forget what I'm looking for. Which we're going to put the balls on. And actually we have to saute these, which I'll do after I cook them, because I want them to rest also. Get a little bit more of that marination with these, the mostly seared outside, so that the seasonings and the moisture is going to actually hold very well inside with it being seared. So it'd be good to let it marinate. Another opinion I have is, I think pretty much I can't think of a season or any type of meat besides seafood. Unless it's in like a linguine or a spaghetti or something, but I can't think of any meat that doesn't taste better the next day. Mainly that's because it's had all that time to rest, which is very important meat. Obviously when you have it burning up, the meat's boiling up mostly towards the top because you have it boiling. And the same goes for if you have it on the outside of the grill, doing the same thing. So you want to at least sit a good 15-20 minutes, let it get to close to room temperature, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more than that, and then it actually distributes all that juices evenly throughout the meat, and that's definitely helps with the tenderization of the meat and the juicy meat. Okay, so I'm going to go take these off. Again, I'm shouldn't be using, I think I've learned by now, I've had these for years. Use these. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the rest of them. I'm going to go ahead and just turn it off for now because this will be boring and I only have like 17 more minutes that I can use. So I'm going to cook the rest of the meatballs, and then I'm going to go ahead and start. I'll show you the peppers and onions that we actually use also to make basically a soup part of it.